And then there was 6. Yeah, look at that. That was brilliant timing. Well
There
done,
we
Lee.
go.
Yeah. And Vet's disappeared.
Right on cue.
Hello, everybody.
I'm a
Well,
V.
what?
I'm a V.
What?
See, there's on my screen. It's a V.
Oh,
I'm just a letter now.
that's
I'm
true. He is just a letter. Welcome
He's
to
being anonymous.
the first new episode of Rock Players. I even had to remember what it was called then. It's been a day. It's been a day. So if you've seen the show before on the other channel, which no longer exists, it now says under construction, you'll kind of remember it as a cloud gaming news show. But when we changed the whole of this channel to cloud gaming, it kind of didn't have a space anymore because I do daily cloud gaming news, and then Tuesdays we do the week's Rock cloud gaming news. So we're now a panel show that discusses the news of the week, some big topics and stuff. We will look at, some news, and we'll even have developer interviews and stuff as well. But look at this for an amazing first lineup. And we may even get some special guests joining us later as well. Let me start first with our special guests, and then we'll come back to Bjorn and HOULTS, who of course are our regulars, starting with my good friend Seb, Dr. Spaceman Media. How are you, my friend?
I'm pretty good, thanks, Rokk. How you doing, man?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. What are you playing mainly on these days, out of interest?
Playing a bunch of stuff. I usually do my weekly Fortnite Zero Build game, and lately, the Fortnite Zero Build, by the way, I play on GFN. Always love the experience on there. And lately, I've been playing a lot of xCloud. So Xbox Cloud Gaming, which I do believe they officially adopted the term xCloud, or it's coming soon. So
yeah, they've been moving towards it, haven't they? I think I said this recently. We should just call it xCloud and be done with it.
I've started doing that already.
Yeah,
it's already got its branding. People are familiar with it, so they should just go with it. But
makes it
xCloud lately has been doing leap forwards. In my case, I know it's not the same for everyone. The app itself still doesn't work really well, but in the browser, on the Edge browser, works fantastic. So the scan line is gone. I get zero latency, like really no latency at all. Sometimes a little bit of pixelation, but they've really improved their game. So they're really going along, and we can see like from week to week there's some progress here and there. So definitely solid performance.
Yeah, no, I agree. Totally agree. And we were saying just before we went live how, for me, literally, all of the, every cloud gaming platform that I jump in now, I mean, it may just be that I'm in a lucky, what we call a Goldilocks sweet spot in terms of my network and so on and so forth, and proximity to servers, but I get no latency. I get zero lag. Everything just looks great. Lee, how are you, my good friend? Great to have you back on. Great to have you on a show, let alone back on this show. I'm sure you'll be a regular in the future.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, an absolute pleasure. Now, of course, people will remember you from the good old days of Stadia Source, and it was good. It was good, man. I love Stadia Source. I know. But we're here to soothe you, my friend. It'll all be good. And of course, lately, GeForce Now Source, which is, I'm sure, going to do really well from now on in. You sort of, in a way, it kind of needed where we are now to give you the impetus, but you're still hugely involved. I think you're the essentially in writing, the editor-in-chief. Is that correct?
Yes, content manager is my official title. Yeah.
But you're always out there with the news. You always were.
Yes,
I mean, you're one of my ports of call always with the Stadia stuff, and now still with GeForce Now Source, which, to be honest, I'm struggling to say with these teeth, Lee.
It's all going to expand very shortly. Dan, you know Dan Rokk, he is working very hard on our revamped website. So when that launches, sort of GeForce Now Source will be rolled into the Gaming Source network, and we'll be covering other cloud services at the same time. So
that's great news. You heard it here first, folks. Breaking news.
Dan is working on it. He's doing a a fantastic job. I've seen a little bit of what he's working on. So
Dan, and you know I'm in the trade, so
Mm.
you know I've got guys.
well, yeah. I mean, our website was hosted by yourself, so
I can tell the quality.
you can.
I'm like I'm a bit like one of those master chefs on the Bake Off shows, and I could tell you Dan knows his stuff. I think
He
he's an
does.
absolutely
He does.
superb.
Some of
web
the,
designer.
Gordon
some of the
Ramsay?
things he does is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Some of the things he does.
You may, folks, be hearing a little chuckle from nowhere, thinking to yourself, what's going on? Is there someone behind Lee? Well, there kind of is, but he's blacked out. We may as well bring him in. He wants to surprise us with his background. Mr. Vet, RTX Reid Gaming.
What a name! It is. That's the full rebrand. Just going like that.
It could be Hemorrhoid Gaming, I suppose.
Yeah, I had another name I was going to use, but it's not for this show. I got to be a serious gamer today.
Well, I mean,
I would tune into a show called Vet on Roids. All speed jacked up. Oh.
You know what? I didn't have to do that, but if you had tuned in, I did a Twitch stream a couple nights ago, and I had 2 cans of. They were these little tiny cans of Red Bull that I thought were
gorgeous.
Just a single can. They were triple shots. So it's like 6 cans. And I drank them at 6 p.m. So by the time they kicked in, I went live on Twitch doing some Amazon Luna. And it would have been probably the greatest show ever if I had done it on YouTube.
To be honest, he would have better deserved the name Spaceman. He was totally off of his Venus.
Yeah.
He was on another planet.
Stream like that again. I ended up broadcasting it on YouTube afterwards the next day, and everyone's like, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "I don't know. I don't remember much that night."
he was all over Twitter. He was all over YouTube. I was getting DMs. I was thinking, "Hello, what's he on?" I've never seen 2 cans of Red Bull affect a human being in that way. And my daughters, when they were young, had less than. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, don't drink 6 cans of that.
Don't be doing
that is
it.
not a winning combination.
So Vet, I'll come back. I meant to ask Lee this, but now we've got you. So obviously Boostroid banging about in the background there, GeForce now.
Yeah.
Have those 2 become your kind of main platforms of choice now? Or?
Yeah, I do use Amazon Luna on occasion. Mostly with Luna, I'm trying to use that more for like the direct streaming because it's just easier than trying to have to multi-stream and all of that. And then I don't have to worry about dealing with the Twitch affiliate status and Twitch getting all bent out of shape because you're not allowed to do this and that. Plus it's direct streaming right to Twitch, so it makes more sense. But all 3 of them are PC gaming, and that's kind of where I shifted. I mean, most people that watched my content knew when I started to slowly drift from Stadia, it was over to GFN, but I've been a PC gamer at heart, so it made sense, and I've just been knocking stuff out left and right on GFN and Boostroid, and I haven't dabbled in anything else, but I jump in on Luna when people want.
So presumably, if you've bought your game on Steam or Epic, you can play it on Boostroid, you can play it on GeForce Now. So it just depends what.
I mean, or you could technically. I've started to notice in the catalog that they're actually getting games from Origin games, and not only Origin but also Ubisoft titles, select titles. They don't have the full catalog. That would be more GFN, but they are getting the individual ones. So if you just went to like the app and just bought the game, but you also have Rockstar, so Grand Theft Auto 5, Red Dead Online, FIFA. I don't want to buy FIFA 23 on Steam because I'm not good at that game, and so I don't want people laughing at me on stream with that one. Because
nobody would ever laugh at you, my friend.
I would
you and your 6 cans of Red Bull, it would never happen, would it?
I know, right? But yeah, no, I've had a blast just playing games, and I've showcased Boostroid. I've been all over the place with the games on there, and between the 2, just those 2 services alone, I probably have almost 2,000 games that I could play.
What?
Which is GFN's got 1,400 plus games.
Yeah, but you got to own them.
I don't have the money for that. I'd be living on the street trying to hold my laptop in the air with the phone.
I mean, word of advice, mate. Don't be buying all the games thinking you're going to get a massive refund from GeForce in a couple of years. Because I genuinely think that was a one-off.
That would be Well, that's like somebody said, well, what do I do with my save if Boosteroid removed Red Dead Online. I'm like, it'd be on Rockstar servers. And I said, for you to lose your save stuff, Rockstar would have to go under. And the likelihood of Rockstar going out of business is about as likely as me becoming ruler of the world.
Well, they get sold.
And then I just was like,
they're all being
it's a good idea.
Yeah. Leon, I very rudely forgot to ask you what you've been playing and on what platform.
Oh, I play mostly on GeForce Now these days, to be honest. I do a little bit of Xbox. I've got Series X and I've got PS5 as well. But yeah, my main gaming for a long time has been on GeForce Now.
Do you have the 3080? Do you have the top tier?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a stunning piece of kit, isn't it?
It is. It is.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And what games? What have you been playing in the last week?
Ooh, Mass Effect.
Fans of gamers.
Yeah, I'm well into the Mass Effect Legendary Collection on GeForce Now at the moment. So
yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I've played them all multiple times before, but it's my favorite series. So
wow,
I'm working my way through Mass Effect 2 just now.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, no, so many games, so little time. You tell me it works. It's terrible. It's like we've been let loose in a candy shop.
It is. I don't know. Like everyone's like, play this game and this game. I'm like, dude, I don't have time for all that. I do have a 5-year-old and I have all of this, and I'm like, but I want a game. And then I don't even game offline anymore because I like gaming when I'm streaming. Yeah. So then it's like, and if I do get sucked into gaming offline, then when I look at my watch, I'm like, oh, it's 3 a.m. Whoops.
Yeah, that's tomorrow to win.
Thanks for subbing. Thank you, fans of gamers, for renewing 4 months of membership. Hope you're well, my friend. Had a bereavement yesterday, bless him. So hope you're well. And I noticed earlier on as well, I'm sure I brought it up as well. And yep, Phil has joined as a member. Thank you so much, my friend. Really appreciate that. Bless you. We've got quickly, I'll just mention before I forget, because I forgot on the Rokk show and I don't want to do it again. But this week across the channel, we're giving away. So for each of the main shows, that's the Rokk show on Tuesdays, the Rokk Around the Clock every other day. And of course, Rokk Players Now is your Thursday entertainment. We're giving away 60 days of GeForce Now Priority. So it's 1 for each show. For this show as well, you can also win with one of those Deathloop from Steam. So we give you a code, you can go and download that, and it's available on GeForce Now, so you can play that there. And for the Rokk show, I'm giving away a $40 Steam credit, so you can so one of the 3 GFN priorities plus 2 of those shows have the extras. That will be on tomorrow's Rokk Around the Clock. So there'll be the Wheel of Fortune on there. I'll be doing all 3 of them. So join in at 5 p.m., 9 a.m., 12 p.m., wherever you live in America or Europe to watch that. In the meantime, in order to qualify, you need to sub me. And if you're already subbed to me, sub one of these guys or all of them, because that's the important thing. We all need to share the love. And leave a comment in this video if you're up for winning one of those 3 prizes. And we'll be doing the draw tomorrow, so don't forget. I've got some great prizes coming up as well soon, including more from our friends at NVIDIA, who obviously we partnered with on that one. Some big news coming on that in the near future. So it's all great stuff. Talking of great stuff, shall we start quickly before we get to the big debate on what's been happening in the wonderful wide world of cloud gaming these last few days?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm going to pull up a screen.
So much news. So much news.
Well, we won't spend too long because it was different when it was just the 3 of us. Look at us all there, little tiny postage stamps people.
Look at me, Philip. I'm a stamp.
Yeah, look at that. It was different when it was just the 3 of us. We would wander through 3 hours worth of chewing the fat. But our guests, you don't never want to outstay your welcome. And these guys have got lives to lead. So very quickly, who would like to take the cudgels up on GeForce Now, which is obviously the blog's gone live today with new GeForce games. I'd like to offer it out to our guests to begin with. And if they're too shy, I'll take it on. Don't
everyone jumping.
Right, then I shall do it. Brilliant stuff. So every Thursday, and we're going to do this every Thursday, we happen to coincide with the GeForce Now Thursday blog. This is where they announce all the games that are being ported in the coming days. And because it's the first first blog of the month. They typically also talk about all the games or many more games that are coming up. Now, what we will do sometimes is have a look at individual games. But to be honest, once we get chatting into the big debate, which comes after the news, we may run out of time. So we're just going to run through and very quickly kind of center on some of this stuff. So Plague Tale Requiem, which is also, it has to be said, coming to xCloud as well. So, because of course, Microsoft own them, I think. Don't they own them, Seb? Or did I just make that up?
I'm not sure, actually. I'm looking it up right now.
I may have made that up. The reason I turned to Seb is because he is our resident xCloud genius. So I thought I'd quickly pass it over to him. But it's funny, you'll often see me in my shows asking Ray and other people stuff, and then the look of horror when they realize that I've caught them off flat-footed is a thing to be seen.
That's usually Ray.
Yes, it is normally Ray. Oh no, I love Ray, and he knows it. You guys played the first one, Plague Tale?
I did. It was actually a really good game.
Oh, fantastic game.
It's been on my playlist for years.
You've never played it?
I jumped a few times.
No, I've not played it. No, I've not played it.
This is the time, my friend.
And it's on Game Pass as well, is that right?
It's on Game Pass, yeah.
So I could jump in there.
I think it's coming out October 18th. There you go. Need to think anymore. It's right down there. So not that far down the road. But yeah, it's coming out on Game Pass, and I believe on, Cloud as well. Because let's be honest, most games that come out these days on xCloud or on Xbox Game Pass go straight to cloud, and I'm sure that's going to be the thing.
Yeah,
I'm excited for it because the first one was gorgeous, and I can only imagine this one's going to be even better.
Yeah,
I mean those rat physics. Oh,
it's an absolutely stunning game. It really is.
They do it justice with that time period, especially when you're going back in time.
Yeah.
14th, 15th century, whatever it may be. They really do a good job at making everything look like that time period.
Yeah, 100%. I'm just, I tell you what I'm going to do, because there's so many of us and there may be more. I'm just looking to put on the speaker indicator. There we go. So you folks watching at home, who is sort of like, who said that? You'll see there's a yellow box around the whoever's gabbing. In this case, it's me. So that one's coming up on GeForce Now as well. So if you don't have xCloud or Xbox, and you do have GeForce Now or a Steam account, you can buy it there, of course. And you know that you can definitely 100% play it on GeForce Now, which is great news. Other games coming up: Astarigos, Curse of the Stars, Kamowaza, Way of the Thief, Ozymandias, Bronze Age Empire Sim, Lego Brick Tales. I think, is that the first Lego game to come to GeForce Now?
No, I think that's the second.
Yeah, Lego Brawls, I think was on GeForce Now.
It's not the first Lego game, but the thing is, there's a lot of Lego games that are published by Warner Brothers. This one isn't, and also the other ones that are on GeForce Now. So that's the main difference between all those that are on GFN and those that are not.
Gotcha. See what I mean? Genius. He knows his stuff. That's why he's a doctor. PC Building Simulator 2, The Last.
Yeah.
What?
Sorry, I got excited. The PC Building
What do you want, Vet?
Check his blood.
There was
Check his
his
caffeine in his blood.
Yeah, that was his roids. He says suddenly kicked in. PC Building Simulator 2, yes, from Vet there. Yeah, that looks good fun, Vet. Did you play the first one?
Yeah, I did. I enjoyed it. It's an addictive game.
Yeah.
You lose track of time building computers in it.
You wouldn't think it, would you? You'd think,
no,
putting PCBs and chips and stuff in a box.
No, and ordering stuff and dealing with all that, and you get hooked on it.
Yeah, I wonder if our good friend Lee CGD Sims is going to be playing that one. Are you going to be playing that one?
No.
I would have thought
Looks
so.
like
He's totally hyped for Priest Simulator.
I'm gonna play that. I still want to play that, but I want to dress the part though.
It looks so much fun.
I should buy that game for my wife because she's getting close to becoming a priest. So yeah,
she actually is.
Might be one for her.
Yeah, she's virtually qualified.
2 more years, then she's
actually
qualified.
Awesome.
Bjorn, let me just say no. Do not buy that game for your wife. It has nothing to do with being a priest.
Yeah, I know. I kind of want to though.
It's more like
That's a joke.
Saints Row than it is being a
Yeah.
priest. The last Orecru Scorn. Oh, I'm so looking forward to Scorn. That's another Game Pass game coming out on day and date
Yeah.
as well, isn't it? Plague Tale Requiem mentioned, Warhammer 40,000 Shooters, Blood and Teeth, Faith, the Unholy Trinity, Victoria 3.
Yeah, Victoria.
Now that's kind of your
Paradox.
that's one of your kind of games, isn't it? That whole kind of
And I mean that one has been anticipated. Like when they announced EU4 back in like 2011 or something, people were like, "Awesome! When is Victoria 3 coming?"
Yeah.
So the fans have been waiting for over a decade for this game. So
really,
finally, yeah.
Wow.
Victoria 2 was deemed as the best thing they've made for a long time.
It's basically an empire builder, isn't it? You sort of
It's like the Victorian era, build an empire across the world. You can play as any nation you want in the world. Pick whatever you want. Pick your poison.
As long as it's full of people of a certain color, because the Victorians did like to pick on people of a certain color. Let's be honest.
But you can then decide to be the country of that color.
Oh, really?
And then try to push the big British out.
Well, that's what I would do straight off the bat. Absolutely.
So Victoria, the Paradox games have always been, they're always great, but they are a handful to get into.
Yeah. That's awesome. Little logo moving about there. The Unliving, Commandos 3 HD Remaster, Draw Slasher, Guild Wars. Now, interestingly, Guild Wars Trilogy, I think, includes Guild Wars, and you've got Guild Wars Game of the Year Edition.
I don't know why they do it like that, but
I guess Game of the Year Edition includes all the DLCs and add-on content and stuff.
And
it's
they
different
are
entries in the store.
And the trilogy is obviously like the expansions are standalone. So in theory, like if Steam don't have them, but in theory, if you buy the first one, you can then buy the others. Buy Game of the Year, then you can buy the others off their website if you want.
It's a massive
great game. Yeah, great game.
Yeah.
I think I have 3,000 hours, and I have maybe played half of it.
3,000 hours.
Yeah, it was my jam. That was my teenage years. It came out. It's 16 years old. This jam. It's so good.
Yeah.
So good. Guild Wars 2, like the sequel is really great as well. I love that one, but like the original,
he went in this room as a teenager and walked out a man, and all he ever played was Guild Wars.
Real, like that was my life.
Wowza. Labyrinthine, Volcanoids, and Monster Outbreak. A couple of those are really exciting.
Oids. I mean, you had boosteroids, and now you got Volcanoids. That one actually sounds a little more painful, though. I don't want to experience Volcanoids.
Yeah, that one you got hot oids. It's not what you want, is it?
So much for the serious gamer that I was supposed to be.
Yeah.
It's the way it's triggering triggeroids.
No, it's not what you want. Dakar Desert. Yes.
I was just gonna say to answer your question from earlier, because I was looking into it for Plague Tale.
Yeah.
The studio is actually developed by Asobo Studio, which has partnered many times with Microsoft. They actually work on Microsoft Flight Simulator, but as far as I can tell, they're not owned by Microsoft.
Right,
they're like a second-party studio.
Yet.
Yeah.
Thanks, Seb. Appreciate that, my friend. Dakar Desert Rally. And this one comes with DLSS as well. We were saying earlier, Seb, and I'll touch on this with you because I'm quite keen on your thoughts. As you mentioned, DLSS is brilliant if you haven't got the GPU power, but you kind of want to try and get somewhere as close to the look of, a decent graphics card. But where does that apply with NVIDIA GeForce Now, given that it isn't your GPU and that they're pumping it out on a decent card anyway?
Basically, what's going on with DLSS is they developed a algorithm with AI for upscaling the quality of pictures. So if you're playing like with a weaker GPU, or the game is too demanding, like you're putting everything in ultra and it's overloading your GPU, you'll want DLSS, because what it'll do is if you're trying to play in 4K, it'll actually drop down your resolution. And in certain games, you can actually see what it's dropping down the native resolution to. So like if you're trying to play it in 4K, it'll drop it to like 1440 or 1080p, depending which setting you put in. And with the AI in the GPU, it'll upscale. So it will patch in the holes, the gaps, if I can say, within the pixels, to make the image look sharper. And that was at the beginning, but over time the AI system has become very good at figuring out what the image should look like, doing comparison depending from one game to the next. That's why you got DLSS that applies to certain games but not to another, because it has to adjust that to that very game. So you're basically your computer's running the game at a lower graphic setting, lower resolution, so it's much easier to increase the
and then
frame
it's
rate.
using AI upscaling to simulate being higher resolution than it is.
So where this would really benefit you would be if you had maybe the priority tier GeForce Now, which is 1080. So because what my point is that for most of the time, most of the games that I play on 3080 are more than capable of running at the full 4K plus with ultra settings. So where this would really work well is if you wanted to kind of eke more out of the 1080 perhaps, or if you're playing a game like the one that I've struggled with is Resident Evil Village, where if you kind of go ultra, the whole thing just grinds to a halt. Even on 3080 can't. So you could pump that one out using DLSS and then get the frames per second up and so on.
Exactly. So you'll be able to get a smoother frame rate if you want to get like above 120 FPS if it's a local GPU, or if you're on GFN and you want to get the 120 to stay smooth, that it's not capped around there and drops around to 115, 110 once in a while. The DLSS will ensure that it's really hitting that 120 FPS in a really smooth manner. And there are also games that have another feature that's called the LAA. I know No Man's Sky is one of them. What the LAA is, it's anti-aliasing, but it's basically taking the same algorithm that they're using with DLSS and adapting it so that instead of dropping the resolution of your game and patching in the holes and making it look pretty like by upscaling, instead, it keeps the native resolution. So if you're playing a game in 4K, your computer is still loading the game in 4K and showing you the native image. But on top of that, it goes and look at what you're getting in an image. And let's say you have some texture that are popping that are not exactly as good looking as the rest. Like if you get close to a wall and there's some stuff that the original assets are not as high resolution as the rest, it will work to enhance that image so that everything will look so much smoother. So it makes the game look better than what the original assets allow it to look like.
And this is only possible on NVIDIA cards.
Yeah, it's proprietary to NVIDIA.
Which is a good reason to have GeForce Now.
Yeah, they do have some good programmers over at NVIDIA.
And I'm right in saying that they apply this to both the priority and the 3080 tiers. So it's not just 3080 that this is limited to. Is that correct?
Yeah, you'll have it as well on the priority
tier.
Yeah. Even though it's capped at 1080p, like you have some very demanding games. Like Cyberpunk is one of them that's very demanding on the hardware. No Man's Sky, they're doing a lot of improvement. They update a lot of the assets so you can crank up the graphics pretty high. Nice. So there's a lot of games that even if you're gaming at 1080p 60, that it can benefit you to put it on. It's something to play with.
Oh, it's amazing. Thank you for that, my friend. And then also full list of new games coming to the cloud this week. Again, we're still on NVIDIA GeForce Now for the second. Marauders, which is a kind of multiplayer. It's set in the 80s, but after a bit like Wolfenstein, the World War II never ended kind of malarkey. It's a multiplayer. It almost reminds me a little bit of Rainbow Six Siege. It's that kind of a thing. Everyone's trying to get to rewards, to loot, and it's first guy there, and then you shoot the hell out of everybody else. So if that's your thing, that's out there. It's not a bad price. Dakar Desert Rally, as we've mentioned, Lord of Rigel, which is, I think it's a kind of space strategy game. Priest Simulator, which is, check it out because it goes, defies explanation.
I feel like that's something that I should be playing.
I think 100% you should be playing it, man.
It's Priest Simulator because you need to go see a priest after playing.
Exactly.
It's one of these after the game. Father Vet, where did you learn about the voice of God? From the game manual.
It's interesting. Out of those 6 games releasing this week, 4 of them are early access. I think it feels like GeForce now really going all in on like bringing in more early access titles, which is also
I've noticed that too, that they've been bringing a lot more early access titles in lately.
Yeah, I know one that I wanted to get on there very soon. Baldur's Gate.
Okay. Yeah, well, you would. I mean, you're just
it's only on
obsessed
Stadia at
with
the
it.
moment. And Stadia, but it's one of those. It's only on Stadia if you're a cloud gamer at the moment.
Yeah.
So
No, it's not.
and that's going
No,
away.
it's not.
It's gonna.
It's not. It's on
on
another
Discord.
cloud service. It's on another cloud service.
It's on
xCloud.
Discord.
No, it's Baldur's Gate 3 is on Boostroid as well.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Ah,
Yep.
the
That
early
might be
access.
some, like so. If they if it doesn't come to GeForce now, I might have to sign up for Boostroid then because I need that game in my life.
But
Here's my referral link.
but I am correct in saying that studio's owned by Microsoft, isn't it? By
Nope.
Xbox?
No, they are.
Oh man,
They're in studios.
that's 2 down.
They are they're independent and they are obviously partnering with the Wizards of the Coast.
But hang on, Guerrilla Games are definitely owned by xCloud, aren't they?
Santa Monica Studios. That's the one. You're thinking of.
It's got to be owned by Microsoft, right?
I'm gonna find
know,
one someday. I
Yeah,
can
no,
tell you.
I think you might be thinking of Obsidian. They are.
I'm not. I'm just not thinking, my friend. I'm just not thinking. So, Barrow Trauma and Black Desert Online. Guys, Black Desert's been on GeForce now for some time because I've got it on there.
Yeah.
So, what is this? Is this simply because it's from a different launcher?
It's like previously they were through. I don't know if you remember if it was Epic or Steam. Now they are also
Steam.
through their own internal, their own launcher. If you don't
It's a
want to go
bit
through
like Genshin Impact. So
Yes.
Genshin Impact is available on Epic, but if you play on GFN, you're not going through Epic. You're actually going through
Right.
MiHoYo.
And
Mihoyo,
Guild Wars 2 is
launcher.
available on Guild Wars 2 is available through Steam, but also through their own launcher.
Right. Okay. That's cool.
It's something NVIDIA's been playing with, dealing directly with the game publishers that want to bring the game. So it's interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, it's I think they've had it for a while. I looked through I actually looked through the developer documentation that they have on their SDK today. It didn't a lot just went straight over my head, but I did notice that they are like have been in there for quite a while, saying like, yeah. I mean, we support Steam, we support Epic. Of course, that means like the security and like the signing in can be at some like sometimes you can be forced to log in, which can affect user experience. So if you want to have full control of your user experience, then do your own integration with your own launcher with us.
Sure.
If you want, you have the ability. Which
one thing I believe. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, sir.
I was just going to add one other thing that might have a big impact on this is games where you can have microtransactions where if they go through Steam or Epic, they have to give a cut of that to the platform. While if the publisher goes directly on GFN, then it's directly in their pockets.
That's interesting. Could you envisage, therefore, on that basis, side deals between GeForce Now and the studios?
I would not be surprised to see in the future having like Genshin Impact and Black Desert and some other games have the cloud directly implemented within their own website or having their own app.
Yeah.
Especially those games that are available on mobile. While you launch, it can give you the option to launch in the cloud instead of playing mobile.
Yes.
So you get a full-on version.
And I think I would be surprised if the studios and developers and publishers don't have access to seeing like this get like what percentage of people playing through GFN is playing through our own launcher, Steam or Epic.
Yeah.
Like they can probably tell, and then they can see, all right, we're getting like if we can steer people towards our own launcher, we can gain that much more money from the market.
Well, equally, of course, if you've got a mobile game, you're having to give you a 30% slice to Apple or to Android. So if you can say,
I'm sure
you know,
Genshin, the GFN deal has been great because I mean, a lot of people they don't want to have the what is now 12 gigs of storage you need, I think, for that game on your phone. It plays great on your phone. Don't get me wrong. I really enjoyed having it on my phone. But it was like 12 gigs of storage.
Yeah.
Like, if I can get that on cloud, I'm doing it.
Yeah. That's a really interesting insight, guys. Actually, it's one to talk about, I think, a bit later. Also, coming up, let me see, 22 games announced in September. Don't sleep on these extra 13 titles that came to the cloud. So they're already
Yeah,
there.
talk about
We'll
a few of them
skip all
last week.
those. That will do for GeForce.
Yeah. We did it.
The
We did
longest
it.
one.
Woohoo.
Woohoo.
Yeah, woohoo. We're going to touch on, and this is one for you, Vet, I think. We're going to touch on quickly on the Boosteroid games that have come out or been announced. Do you want to give us a shout out on what they are?
Do we want to? Hold on, I have to pull up the platform because I don't have it.
I tell you what.
I'm not prepared.
Do you want me to?
Go on. I tell you what. Stephen is going to
Oh,
read these
yeah.
out, and
There
then
you go.
you can comment.
I'm going to quickly read them out. So we're going to have
Okay.
Generation Zero, a retro-style first-person shooter, set in the back end of World War II, where you actually on the Italian front of the. Sorry, this one's the Swedish. This is the Swedish one where Sweden's actually built robots. And
Generation Zero. Hang on. What?
the veterans
I need
have
to
come
check
back.
that.
The veterans have come back to their hometown,
yes,
and they
yes,
found
yes.
out that the robots went bad and killed all the inhabitants. And it's up to you to.
That happened away around the corner from me, actually. That exact same scenario. Torquay.
Happened to
Happened
me
in
also.
Torquay.
And
I
that's
need
how,
to get this game now.
so that's
Swedish.
what happens for the Battle for Britain. Rokk pushed the robots back, and
I was there.
they fled somewhere.
Me,
else.
me and Churchill, mate. We were like that.
I thought I read about that too in a book somewhere. I think they were talking about it in history class.
Now, I've actually got some fear actually saying this name because one time on a panel I said Verdun wrong. I think I'm still saying it wrong, and Rokk got me on it from World War One. So this is Isonzo, and this is the World War One first-person shooter, and this is where you're set in World War One, and you're following. This is a game series. This is the third adaptation in the series, but it's set on the front lines of Italy, where you're pushing back the Austro-Hungarian front and on the likes of Isonzo River Valley and the Italian Alps. So if you like
God,
World
you
War
said it because I would have butchered that name. I'm not even going to say how I would have pronounced it.
I was
already
actually,
know it's
I was
wrong.
actually panicking, thinking it was going to be 2 for 2 when Rokk got me.
You think he actually pronounced it right? I'm just saying nothing.
I don't know because I was going to say I saw
Right.
and then stutter for
It's
a few minutes
Isonzo.
and then just stop.
Yeah,
Is it-
Isonzo.
Isonzo. So because
Isonzo.
It's
Isonzo?
Nozo.
Isonzo?
It's a nozo for
I
me.
believe it's Isonzo.
I said Isonzo.
Anyway, next up.
Close enough.
See, I was
Spent
sweating.
an hour on the platform on the panel trying to figure this out.
Next one is Visage, which is a psychological horror set in a strangely
Sorry.
Yes,
I just
it
don't
is.
do work.
Visage.
Keep going.
Set in a structured house with some kinds of weird history, and what happens was as you go through the game, you find out what happens in the backstory to the inhabitants that lived there previously.
Yeah.
So
This is the trailer for Visage as we speak.
Is it like a puzzle? Oh, God, I hate puzzles.
It's French for face, isn't it, Seb? Visage.
Yeah, I thought it was French
is.
for puzzle.
That would be McDonald's.
That's my face playing that game right there. Sad.
So in the
Oh,
end,
dear.
the whole part of the world and the house is accessible, but then in the end, some of it's closed. You have to find keys, solve puzzles, hoard stuff,
there you
to
go.
move obstacles to actually get through the house and keep your sanity. So
Wow.
supposedly, this dark house saps your sanity for something.
Very
So
good.
I'm not staying there over the weekend.
Are there
The next
children
one,
there? That would be why.
the next one is
That's too scary for me. I'm out.
yeah,
It's
no,
like a
Exactly.
creepier Resident Evil.
It is, isn't
Yeah.
it? I was thinking that, yeah. And this one's no better. GTFO.
Yeah.
So this one's GTFO. Players form a team of 4 scavengers, which are forced to explore the vast underground complex in order to complete the Warden's request. The Warden sort of like this evil deity and stuff like that. In the end, that will sort of, it's up to you to actually get the resources or something.
Yeah, I remember when the first time I saw this game,
So
I was like,
you have to
"This is
survive.
the first time I saw this, I was like, oh, okay, so it's basically Payday, which is obviously the creators from Payday, Payday and meets Left 4 Dead.
Ray told me, actually suggested I play this, and I still have not gotten around to it.
Yeah, I'll be scared of it. So
It's pretty heavy, actually, to be fair.
Yeah.
We're going over all 39 games
So-
that came through.
No.
yes,
Yeah, the problem with letting Stephen do it is he decides to read the entire blur.
Oh, okay. So let's fast forward.
The rest of
I
us
didn't-
just go, and there's that one, there's
Steven,
that one.
I didn't call you out. That was
It is. He gets the only part I can actually
Wow.
speak, and I'm like,
It's all he's got to do. He's only got the one job.
Some of the games
okay.
they
And
added.
the next one is DCS World, which is a flight simulator. followed by
Tell
Megal.
us about it though, Stephen. What do you fly? What kind of a?
So in the end, you know, there's loads of planes from around the world across loads of maps, so you can around the Emirates, Britain, stuff like that. There's loads of military bases that you can actually fly from. I'm not really at
it's a flight sim.
Yes.
No. It's a
Flight
sim. Yeah.
Flight.
Oh, they even
Yeah. No, I deliberately said
fight.
fight at the front of flight. I'm saying you
dogfight
fight
simulator.
in a flight sim, right?
Oh, they had a quote from Winston Churchill. I would have liked Rokk to pause that and then read it.
Yeah,
It's a very regal
Too
manner.
late.
Yeah.
Like you missed it.
As me and
I
Rokk
know.
pushed on the Battle for Britain and moved the robots to Sweden. That's what it said.
Yep.
Then the next one we've got a mega strikers, which is
Omega.
Hold on, I'm trying to find where you're at reading
Omega.
this game.
Consists of two teams of players to fight in sending what's called the core. So in the end, you fight for the core, which is a big, huge hockey puck, and in the end, you sort of
It's basically air hockey.
Air hockey, yeah.
yeah, but you know,
Multiplayer air hockey.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's good.
so it looks like a little bit of fun. Next one, Walking Dead. So this is a Telltale series, which is a sort of clicking point, and you sort of progress through the story by sort of speaking to characters and making decisions of poor Clementine's story, and you
I this is available everywhere.
Yeah, so this game. Predator's hunting grounds. So in the end, once again, one person plays as the Predator. A team of 4 has to escape the Predator. And, you know, if you play like Friday the 13th and games like that,
That's a good one.
I'm not knocking it, but these are flipping good games coming out on Boost Droid.
Metal Hellsinger came out on there too.
Yep.
I don't know anything about it. I got music and
that's a
hell
great game.
out of it.
Yeah, it's a good game. It's a good game, man.
I've
really
played like 5
shooter.
minutes of it, and I already love it.
Which,
If you
sorry,
like,
which-
if you're into
Metal
your
Hellsinger.
metal music, you'll love it.
oh, I love
Yeah,
that game. Yeah,
Yeah, I love
such
metal
good
music.
fun.
I'm not a fan of like Doom-like shooters in general, but at the same time, the metal music and the rhythm base of that game just makes it worth it.
Yeah.
that was September's news we missed. In October.
Oh, what? Oh, I see. What when
When Hellsingers came out, yeah.
No, we
Yeah,
didn't. We covered it.
I'm just
Yeah, we covered it
I'm-
on others. Yeah.
On all platforms.
Yeah.
Well, I said I told you guys I was just going to pick and choose games that piqued my interest. Like Chivalry 2 is on there.
Yeah.
I love that one.
Yeah.
Fun game.
Drops on
That's a fun game.
xCloud this month as well. This week as well.
Yes.
Another Batman game dropped on there from Epic, the Arkham Knight. Portal 2 was added. Raid Shadow Legends was just added today. That's a free-to-play game on Boosteroid.
On mobile. That's the joke mobile game that sponsors everyone.
Yeah. So they also added Need for Speed Payback was added via the from Electronic Arts. NBA 2K23, Dragon's Dogma, Ace Combat 7, Skies Unknown, and the bigger one was FIFA 23. So you got pretty much all. The only sports game they're missing, it really is Madden. They have FIFA, they have NBA, well, and they don't have baseball, but you know.
Yeah, that's something you could be mad about.
It's a shame that this FIFA is going to be the last in the installments working with EA, so that pains me. But it is.
I mean, it could be. I'm actually curious about it and almost excited about seeing how will it change now that they no longer working with EA on it.
I don't know. My favorite game that I played on there has been Spider-Man and Red Dead Online, but Spider-Man is a fantastic game for those that haven't played it yet.
I've seen on there they put Overwatch 2 in, and all the people complaining because it hasn't updated yet. It just still says Overwatch 1, but when you click on it, it does say Overwatch 2. So
oh, really?
They're actually telling the fan base, can you actually just wait for a bit while it updates, and you'll see it all there.
But Overwatch 2 has been getting panned everywhere I've seen it reviewed. Because it was like their big relaunch, wasn't it? And they're saying
There's a lot of people complaining because they wanted to put a stopper where you needed to put in your mobile phone number to play, and that it takes you back a code, which is a awesome solution for resolving cheating problems.
Yeah.
But
However,
it only complaining.
Sorry.
The biggest issue was it only works if you have a contract. So if you have a prepaid card, you can't sign up.
Yeah.
That's exactly the problem. So you needed a Verify phone with a plan. So it is a great idea because it is a problem right now. A lot of shooters coming out that are plagued with cheaters. If you play Shadowline right now, the other the other night, well, Monday, I did a stream and a bunch of people join us, and it was disgusting the amount of cheaters. Like
Really?
you would
Oh, yeah.
get killed, and you would see the cam of
Wow.
the person killing you, and it just snaps through, like pointing at a wall, and then another place. You can easily see it. People are cheating.
Oh, Jesus.
Halo
And it's
Infinite has
sad
been
because
flagged with
that was
cheaters.
a
A bunch of
very
games.
that was a fun game. I enjoyed it, and I'm not keen on those kind of Call of Duty style games because I'm
Mm.
usually my kill death ratio is I get one kill by luck, and then I die about 15 to 20 times.
Yeah.
So I'm usually a liability on whoever's team I'm on. But that
too.
was the graphics in that game were great, but the cheating in it just kind of ruined it.
Yeah. And
That
do you know
is
if
the
there's
thing they need.
Sorry,
I
my
was
friend.
just gonna say
Crack
they
on.
need to figure out a way of validating the identity of all the players to be
Yeah.
sure
Yeah.
that if you're caught cheating,
Yeah.
that you can't play anymore. Some of them, like I believe it's Valorant, that they will block your GPU. Like they'll get your MAC address of your equipment that you're using to play,
Ooh.
and if you're caught
Ooh,
cheating,
damn.
they'll remember that. And if they trace it on an account that's logged into that computer,
Wow.
it's straight up blocked.
Wow.
So they're
Kind of
trying
which
to
is
find a
fair, to be honest.
solution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is one of the benefits between, if you look at the kind of different camps in terms of delivery of cloud gaming services, you're gaming as a service essentially. So your Lunas, your Black Nuts, your Stadias, they were all walled gardens. No, enough vet. There's nothing wrong with Noir. I think it's a brilliant.
No,
It's a brilliant name, because essentially you weren't playing a game that you. I know when it's multiplayer, you don't have a lot of choice, but a lot of those games they were on their servers that you couldn't hack into them. You couldn't do any of that stuff. The problem is with the likes of GeForce Now and Boosteroid and other services, where essentially you're out there in the PC wide west. And it's much easier to inject that stuff, which makes it harder.
that even affects, I think, will affect until it gets taken care of. It's going to affect Amazon Luna as well, because Luna is nothing more. It's just another variant of the PC cloud gaming.
So with clouds,
here.
you couldn't do controller hacks, controller mods, stuff like that. Wouldn't that work?
Well, you couldn't if you didn't have it installed on your system. And of course, once you go out into multiplayer, multi-platform, then you kind of don't have a choice, because if someone's playing on their own box, they can be running any kind of bot and hacks, couldn't they? But it's a perennial gaming issue, isn't it? That's the thing. What do you do? It's what it is. I just wanted to briefly touch, and this is really for you, I think, Dr. Spaceman, what's coming to Game Pass in the last few days. And
Yes.
got it up on the screen. You're the man for the xCloud stuff.
Well, I've started really getting into xCloud not too long ago, because before that I was more playing with a PlayStation Now, which has always been working great, except for the app still needs some work. They've got many issues. And xCloud I've been keeping an eye on, but it was poor performance for me. A few weeks ago, I noticed that it really improved. It's going real well. So for the games right now, like the full list of the games that were announced this week were Costume Quest, which is a very fun game. RPG. You got Chivalry 2. You got a Platinum Requiem. It's a big hit. Scorn, which is a game. It's not out yet, but they've announced that it's coming very soon.
Is it later in October, that Scorn, or is it later on?
Yeah, I think it's next week.
Is it?
Yeah, I think it's next week.
Okay.
It's October 14th. So
Awesome.
Yeah, so next Friday then.
Yeah, there is a lot of eyes on that game. It really looks interesting. There's Evil coming. This one I'm really not familiar with. So social deduction game. So
That's always fun with friends.
Yeah.
Social deduction is great. Love it.
Yeah, it must be a fun one. There's a Dyson Sphere program also announced. There's The Walking Dead, the first one in season 2 that already came out. So those are good classic, and Medieval Dynasty. So those are the games that were announced for for the basically the first half of October. Some of them already came out. Some of them are coming soon.
Mhm. Some really great games. I mean, that we're just now getting to that season, aren't we, where we're starting to get some of these big releases. It's kind of been a little bit dry for the last few months. Lee, do you feel that way, or have I missed on some decent games?
Yeah, no, I think so. I certainly haven't. There's nothing come out recently that I've thought I need to get that
Excited.
and
Yeah.
need to jump into that and been excited about it. Yeah, so
Yeah.
but you're right. I mean, we're coming into busy season now. We've got the new Call of Duty coming at the end of the month as well. Gotham Knights, if anyone's interested in that, I believe that's soon as well, isn't it? There's Marvel's Midnight Suns before the end of the year. So
Yeah, it's a
we've got
big
some
old
good games coming.
When's Hogwarts coming out, by the way? Is that
I know
It's been pushed
February,
to-
I think.
Yeah,
Oh, is it
February next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Avatar, is that a February game as
late
well?
next year. I think it was supposed
Late
to
next
be
year, but
now.
I've heard
It's
it's
delayed.
possibly going to slip to 2024.
Oh.
That's what I've heard on that one.
Ooh.
I think that's part of Ubisoft's shift to moving away from like let's make a game that pleases everyone, but doesn't do any of it perfectly,
Okay.
and more into a like let's be more focused experiences.
Gotcha.
I think they're going back and redoing some parts of that. Oh, that's part of that.
Yeah, there's plenty of stuff coming up though, just to keep us all busy.
Yeah,
Yes,
I've
but
just
it's not like we lack games.
No.
I've just bought EA Play Pro subscription because I wanted to play FIFA 23, which could be played on Boostroid, but I also wanted Wild Hearts, Dead Space, Jedi Survivor, Dragon Age, Deadwolf, which could possibly be on Boosteroid or GeForce Now or
Yeah.
Xbox. So I'm thinking to myself, what a big saving if they all stick to their initial dates in 2023. So I'm like,
Well, we've got some EA games as part of the Game Pass, haven't we? Dr. Spaceman,
There's the EA Play catalog, which is pretty extensive. They got a lot of games in there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, you get the basic version of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it used to be. We would just be
the games. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're the guest.
I was gonna say I actually just successfully pulled up the previous list of games that came to Game Pass because there's some pretty good ones on there.
Uh-huh. Do you want to you put it in private? Thank you.
Huh? Oh yeah.
So, if you put it in private, then I can pop it up on the screen and we can talk through
I'll
it.
put it on there in a
Excellent.
second. But that one is particularly interesting. So there's Grounded that's fully released now, which I've spent a bit of time playing these last few days. Very fun game if you haven't tried it.
Yeah.
It's been like in a beta for a while, but they actually fully released it now. We extended the map and resolved a lot of bugs that it was having.
Bugs with bugs.
Yeah. Big bugs in that game. Like big spiders coming at you.
Should have seen it
Very
coming.
scary.
You can actually, there's an arachnophobia option. You can actually flick it and turn the actually pretty scary spiders into more cuddly, friendly. They still kill you, mind you.
That's what I want. Cuddly versions, none of this like Starship Troopers killers, none of that. Oh.
Yeah, I'm not having that.
They are pretty.
I want a mod that changes all of the spiders to Thomas the Tank Engine.
That's Bjorn's happy place.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna mow it down, like die.
I'd go with Peppa Pig. I tell you, the other great game in this pile, which I loved, was Beacon Pines. Have you played that one?
Not yet. No. I did see you play a bit of it.
It is superb. You've really got to give that a go.
This
Definitely, if I had to go on.
You showed us it 2 weeks ago, didn't you?
Yeah.
Just say, it was actually
we played it. We actually played it live, didn't we? And it's just a really cute little game. Really is a great game. But do you know what warms my heart is you look at these and it goes cloud, 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 cloud. Spider heck, I've played that in the cloud, so I've no idea why it's not.
Yeah, that's on cloud. The only one not on cloud really there is Valheim, which is on cloud if you go with, because obviously that's the Xbox version, which is coming out. It's in early access now.
Yes,
but I mean, it is coming out. It is already out on GeForce Now if you want to play it, if you have the Steam version. And Valheim is so good.
A supremely popular indie game, wasn't it? It was like indie game of the year.
I think, they launched, and I think within 3 days they had sold 5 million copies on Steam, and then another week went by, and it was like 10 million. They were
Really?
like, and the studio was like, I think there were 4 people at the time. So they were like, oh, we need to hire someone now. Like they were students, like newly graduated students from the video game university in Skövde, over in the
These are
mid-south of Sweden.
great games. Great games. I couldn't slime. I did try slime perisher, whatever it's called.
Rancher.
I'm right, sure.
I just couldn't. Yeah, right. I just couldn't work out what the hell I was supposed to be doing. I was sucking stuff up, but that was, yeah, all right, Stephen. But I just couldn't, for the life of me, work out what it was the objective of the game. So I kind of gave up on it in the end. I've seen Ray streaming Moon Scars. That looked pretty cool. Grounded I played when it was in early access. Love that game. Got to get back into it though. I got stuck inside under a tree, and every time I try and leave, I get killed by a spider. So I gave up in the end. But it's just a superb game. Deathloop, I gave that a little go. That's pretty. We're giving a copy of that away, folks. Don't forget, if you missed that, we'll touch on it again at the end of the show. So yeah,
Paw Patrol game makes me want
to.
Which one?
Yeah, it was Deathloop.
Deathloop was nominated for Game of the Year.
It's
won several of them as well, I think.
It's a great concept, I think.
Yeah.
Deathloop,
and I guess
nicely
like
executed.
I don't have a great way to play xCloud on my TV at the moment, so I'm just eagerly waiting that Android app. But like whenever, but I like seeing Paw Patrol on there makes me really want to go and get it. For the kids. The kids love Mario Kart, but they also really like Paw Patrol. And we have a friend who has a 3-year-old who adores Paw Patrol. So my dream is next time he comes over, I have the Paw Patrol racing game. He loves cars and he loves Paw Patrol. Like have that, like put that in his hand. And,
oh come on!
But
there's
yeah,
no
I can't get it.
Doesn't like Paw Patrol. It's easier to say which kids don't like Paw Patrol. Because
very easy to say which adults don't like it though.
Well, it's probably really cheap for networks, isn't it? I mean, this is the secret. Give the games away to the TV networks and then make a mint out of the merchandise.
Yeah. I mean, it's built around the merchandise. That's so obvious.
Yeah, of course it is. So there you go, guys. That's kind of a run around the news. I mean, there's other bits and pieces, but that we're trying to touch on.
We did it in under an hour, guys.
We did.
That's a new record.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, really. Now, Vet has had to, if you're wondering where he's gone, he's had to shoot off and pick up his son. So he's going to come back later, hopefully. And we may even get other folk. You never know. But I thought what we do now, this part of the show really is all about discussion and debate. What we want to try and do is talk about a big news topic of the week. Now, I know you've all had it right up to here, but there is none bigger, I'm afraid, than the demise of Google Stadia. It affected us all, and it affected all of you. And the question, the discussion point really is, how is it going to affect all of the other cloud service providers, good or bad? So you guys, you kind of pre-prepped on the question. I'm keen to get your thoughts. Stephen, do you want to go first? Because you're smiling away, so I like to, stop you.
I was smiling because the people in chat, they're so so nice saying hi. But yeah, optically, right? I think before Stadia closed down, people didn't like the idea. The majority of gamers didn't like the idea of cloud services. So with Stadia closing down, with having a huge backing with the name Google, I think in everyone's mindset, it's going to say, well, no matter who it is, PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, GFN, I'm not going to put any trust in cloud. Full cloud with a storefront anytime soon. So I feel like what people have done is pushed them back by a few years. I feel like that a lot of people are actually going to join on services if it takes a hybrid approach, what sort of xCloud is doing, and dabble on there for a little bit. But we're going to see a slow progression where I was happy with features available on TVs and native apps and stuff like that. But I think we're not going to start seeing them anytime soon. So I think we're going to have a few years where we're going to take a little steady, slow stroll with the average consumer and build it up over time. So in the end, I thought.
Yeah, at the same time, I see what you mean. I think for the general gaming community, I think you will see a slight backlash like that. At the same time, I think in a way, this really brings cloud gaming into the news, and that brings in makes the casuals go oh, cloud gaming is actually a thing. Maybe I should take a look at it. So I think it's kind of a double-edged sword. I think we might get more casual gamers coming in and discovering cloud and trying it out, where we also might get more of the like, hardcore
It's a
community
shame because
going
even though
in,
we
but
all
it's
enjoyed
backwards.
Stadia, you know, the marketing was it for hardcore gamers? Was it for general gamers? Was it for casual gamers? And people sort of never got the messaging what Google tried to aim for. So they aimed for a market and sort of failed. So that's where everyone's now going to think, well, until we actually know what Stadia is going to cater for, I'm not going to trust anyone else with the same narrative that cloud is going to be the future at this moment in time, should I say.
But there are a bunch of people that bought into it already. I mean, you've got, on the one hand, you've got now a floating audience of several
Yeah.
100,000. I mean, it may not have been in the millions, but it was certainly several 100,000.
Yeah, I mean, it's a significant chunk, at least.
Yeah. And they're floating around. I mean, we've seen, you know, I've been trying to cover a platform a day because people genuinely don't know where to go. And a lot of them were casual gamers. They weren't too worried about what game it was, as long as that day they could flick up a racer or a sports game or something in their
But
list.
I've just been seeing jokes all around now since Stadia's gone, dead. I've seen a lot of people make jokes. Luna is dead, Boosteroid's dead. And it's just a lot of people now putting their frustrations of a service onto the next service. So I hope that doesn't negatively affect other people's opinions in like the social spheres of what the cloud is, because someone actually bangs drum saying dead on arrival, this game's crap, and it sort of has a negative effect on all the services that we're currently using at the moment.
Go, Seb.
Something we have to take into account, though, if you look at xCloud, Microsoft announced this year that they've got over 10 million people that have been playing in the cloud. So yes, cloud still has a long way to go to gain in popularity, but games like Fortnite that are extremely popular that went to xCloud and GeForce Now around the same period that you can play on your phone easily, that was a big win for cloud in general, because then you didn't need to, because we know what happened with Apple, that they didn't allow the app anymore in their app store for Fortnite mobile. So by going through the cloud, it allowed a lot of people to get back into it. So that got a lot of people exposed to cloud gaming this way. And the user base has been struggling for a while, but Xbox is doing it a good way. They're implementing it slowly. It's a option that you have on the side, but that optional service that's complementary is getting more and more
mainstream.
It's getting there. The quality is going up. Like since I've noticed that xCloud improved, I haven't turned on my Xbox a single time. I've just been using the browser to play, and it kept me satisfied because I can jump from one game to another without installing it. It's just so easy. I've never been able to take advantage of Game Pass so easily before as now, because installing all those games, Xbox is super slow at installing games. If you do it in the browser, you're just browsing around, pick a game, play it, do it on the phone. It's gaining popularity over time. So Stadia shutting down, I don't even think it's going to be that much of a setback for cloud gaming in general. It will have an impact, but they pushed the envelope of what can be done with cloud gaming. It forced some of the other players to restart investing again. We know xCloud, what's going on. They're doing vast improvements. PlayStation, they improved the quality of the streaming on the PC app. Now everyone's waiting for like mobile and a bunch of other stuff, but we know they have those things working. They're releasing patents on a very regular basis for tech that are going to apply, so that once it releases on mobile, it plays well. Most likely already being tested internally. I wouldn't be surprised. They got cloud native games that are being worked on right now in Montreal with Haven Studios, that it's been confirmed those are cloud native games. Most likely we'll have some hybrid functionalities with a PS5 where you'll have an install, but most of the stuff for the game they're doing will be cloud native. So there's great advancement. Also, Xbox picked up the Hideo Kojima cloud native game that he's working on. So there's some movement happening now for cloud gaming. It's not that much set aside. Everyone knows that's where we're headed right now for the future. Plus, you got services like NVIDIA GeForce Now is growing at a very fast pace. They got a lot of servers around the world now. Boosteroid is increasing at a very quick rate. A lot of services are building The data centers a bit everywhere around the world. It's going to have multiple uses. Cloud gaming is one of them. But for NVIDIA's purpose, they also have the Omniverse service that they sell, which is a professional suite that's using. They're about to release the cloud version of that, which is very expensive, but it's a professional tool. Having GFN front that to put the servers everywhere is helping them, because now they have that tool available for professionals. So there's a lot of very interesting stuff that we don't see on the main scene for cloud gaming that involves cloud in a broader sense. That's going to just keep pushing it, because it's not just the gaming portion of the market that's putting money into that. It's much bigger than that.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. And I think the thing as well is, we obviously at the moment, we're still very kind of, feeling a bit aggrieved over what happened with some of us in this very panel that were completely dedicated to Stadia. And obviously in the chat as well. So, it's kind of came out of the blue, but I think my feeling is that if anything, if it's probably burned developers' hands more than it has potential cloud gamers. There's a lot of indie guys out there, as you know, who were committed to bringing their games to Stadia. Some of them Stadia first, and are now left floating in the wind. We don't know whether Google's reached out to them or if they're going to reach out to them. And
I mean, I've seen the Tri6 developer Clockwork. They've been mentioned on Twitter that they haven't heard anything from Google yet.
No.
So but at the same time, they are. I suppose Google only have so many people who can take those meetings. Those meetings are likely to be quite long, longer than usual for them. So it's probably going to be a while until they get in touch with all of the devs.
Yeah, so I would say I would imagine there's probably still conversations going on within Google that what they're going to offer these developers, and if they can offer them something, if they're going to. I know one developer mentioned last week possibly they could get their development costs back from Google. So I would imagine there's probably some big discussions going on internally as to what they're going to do.
Yeah. And I think it's
like us.
I
was just going to say it's a bit like us getting our games reimbursed, our old catalog. We're getting a lot back. It's not out of goodwill, because Google knows that if they don't do that, they're putting themselves out there for a pretty big lawsuit. Like we've seen in the past, what was the name of the company? OnLive. They didn't do that back then, but OnLive just disappeared out of the map.
They went bankrupt, didn't they?
Yeah, and they were bought
Google
out
won't
by
really go bankrupt.
Gaikai, who then was bought by Sony.
Yeah, and Phil Harrison was involved with them as well.
Yeah.
But they were around for 6 years, in fairness.
Yeah, they were.
Before they decided, and it was early days for networks putting the tech to one side. The best they could achieve was 480. It was always going to be a tough act.
Yeah, they were a bit too early to.
They were, but the technology went to other places where Google got involved with some of the tech, and as we know, Phil Harrison as well came out. He was a major shareholder in the outfit, so partly why they pulled him into Stadia. But I think it's important to reiterate what we now know, at least those of us that have got our ears to the ground, is that this was definitely not part of any kind of plan at Stadia. It was literally dropped on them within half an hour of the time we found out. This was very much a bean counting, cost cutting exercise, and had nothing to do with whether or not Stadia in and of itself had the potential moving forward. And in fact, everyone that we've spoken to that were at Stadia all felt that they had turned a corner and actually they were heading in a good direction. So I think it's important, and I've seen this in all blogs, all websites, and not the ones that we all know and love, but your Verges and your bigger guys, all of them harping on about the fact that Harrison said in the blog post that traction killed it. We know that wasn't the case. And, that's all they've hooked onto. And if they just did a little bit of journalism for their money, they'd actually find that there's a deeper story in there to do with bean counting, but I can't see that ever happening. And that's my big fear, that is what stays with people. Oh yeah, well, Stadia failed, didn't it? So therefore there can't be a market. But we know, as you've just rightly said, Seb, Xbox certainly don't feel that way. I know Sony don't feel that way. The difference with Sony, and we covered this in a previous Rokk Players, is that they make most of their profit comes out of their games and their networks. So they can't just switch to cloud overnight because they kill their model and their shareholders would have heart attacks. So they've got to be really subtle. Whereas
Microsoft is Microsoft have a lot.
They've bet the house on it.
Yeah, they have, and I mean they have other legs to stand on, just like Google has had. And I mean, like Windows itself is probably bringing in. Like Windows licenses from other cloud services. Hell, that's bringing in like billions.
Oh, they're not shy of a few quid, but neither was Google, in fairness.
No. But I mean, Google was coming in from basically like coming in from zero, whereas Xbox obviously hit the ground running because they already had Xbox up and running.
Stephen?
Well, I'm glad to actually see developers like Tequila Works Guild actually not dying with the service, and it's actually moving. It's getting ported somewhere else. So I think that's a good.
Steam.
Actually,
it's going to Steam.
I really hope Outcasters gets ported, because I think that game, if it goes to the platforms, that could be a huge hit for them. I really do. You know, Twitch streaming, YouTube streaming, competitions, I think that could be really massive for them. Yeah,
that's one of what I'm curious about. Like, what happens to the Stadia exclusive YouTube features now? Like the crowd play and the crowd choice. I hope they open up those APIs for non-Stadia games, just in general, because that would be.
Oh, they already did a while ago. They published a bunch of the APIs for open softwares. A lot of them when they shut down SGNE, they would just publish freely, so anyone could use them.
But I think the YouTube exclusive ones weren't, right?
So Seb just shared this with me. Not to drop you in it, my friend, but Shaka Cumberbatch. I'm sure she never looked like that when I heard her stuff in the 80s. But she said in a tweet on the 29th, so this was the day, I'm seeing stuff about how we were all blindsided, and that is not true. I wasn't. The messaging was handled strategically to mitigate leaks and ensure everyone heard the news internally versus on Twitter. Unfortunately, that resulted in a tight gap. All I can say, and I'm not alone in this, is that everyone that I've spoken to behind the scenes at Stadia and other people that I know have all said that from the top down, this was news. Now, maybe Chaka was party to something the rest of us weren't, but that's certainly what I heard.
She was part of the communications management team, meaning as soon the second Google decides we're closing down Stadia, she needs to know that very second they decided. Probably Phil learns it. Phil tells her right away, and you need to get working on the on how to communicate this out to everyone. Where first internally and then externally, and obviously she tells her team, they build both the internal and external communications, and then go from there. So obviously she knew maybe a day or two in advance, but it was she wasn't blindsided per se. Whereas someone working on the engineering team learned from the internal memo that came out or the internal meeting, and then obviously the second everyone there finds out, there's now we have a few hours before someone will leak this to the public from within the team, so we kind of need to get out there and tell everyone. So they had a plan in place, and probably the part the web team probably found out the day maybe a couple of hours or a day before, saying you need to prep the turn off the store, you need to do these things. It's one of those it takes a lot of I've been part of mergers at work, and it's it a lot of the news some people know it months in advance, the people making the decision, and the people involved with communicating the decision and carrying it out, get to learn it on a need to know basis, where someone in customer support or they don't know at all. They find out when the memo goes out. So
we're never going to know entirely, are we? I mean, it's the way it is.
It seems quite obvious that the Stadia management team's failing was not as much maybe in the execution, although they could have not done a lot of the execution better, of course, but more in the how do we because obviously they had their KPI goals to tell to the Google executives and the accountants, saying you're right, this is the we're gonna hit we're aiming for these levels, and then they didn't get to those levels. But if they had maybe had another strategy to put those levels lower, they would have still been here today. So it's on one hand it's it is Google just cutting costs, because they said they're going to cut costs by 20%, and that Stadia had to go. But I mean, if they had if the KPIs were lower, then maybe they could have reached it. But then again, maybe they wouldn't have the same budget. So it's all of, I mean,
Yeah, it's difficult. It's a difficult one. Vet, thanks. Good to see you back, my friend. Hope the little fella's okay.
Yeah, he's watching YouTube now.
Oh, bless him.
Not our show. He's watching.
No, probably not a good idea.
It's like he's watching
not
Minecraft
Stephen
or
anyway.
Roblox or some weird stuff.
Anybody but
Yeah.
Stephen, you'll be all right. So the question is, does the closing of Stadia benefit, say, Luna or Boosteroid positively, or does it affect them negatively?
I think long
I can
term.
see it going. Long term, yeah, I agree. Long term, it will. Short term, it could go both ways, because they could see. And I've said it before. I said if Stadia failed, it could be there could be the domino effect where they all just start to topple. I don't think it would affect Nvidia or with GFN, because that's just kind of so it's the same along the same lines as like xCloud. It's just an additional feature.
Complementary.
Nvidia's
Yeah.
complementary services like you
Yeah.
get. Luna, I don't know, because I think it might shy people away, but the fact that it's been kind of locked behind the borders of the United States right now, I don't know if it's really going to affect them that much. And with the benefits of Prime and the way that they have everything, I don't think it will. I think it will increase their usage. And we saw that on Twitter. A lot of people were either xCloud or they were jumping over to Luna.
Yeah, I think unfortunately, I think the thing that probably won't survive the closing of Stadia is the idea of having a cloud-only store where you can buy a game and you own it on that cloud platform. Like Luna, if Luna had plans to introduce, like, you can now buy the games individually, those plans are gone, because they know they won't, like, people won't trust that. Obviously, if you buy it on xCloud, you also get on Xbox and PC. Yeah, because they have multi-platform ownership.
Yeah, exactly. They could get away with it. Even Sony, if Sony ever went down that route, they could also. The consoles could get away with it. PCs, I don't see it happening. I think they need to rely on those storefronts, and it just makes things so much easier.
Well, me, it's a negative approach with Stadia cutting down, because now xCloud has admitted that some of them games that you're going to buy will be available on their servers in the near future, and they're going to offer Family Game Pass. So I'm going to give them up to the point at the start of next year until I start asking the questions, xCloud, where is my options to buy? Where is my options to have other family tiers? And that's how I'm going to progress with them. And it can't be, we'll bring them in 2024. That's not good enough. I feel like there's a certain target growth that they have to hit now in my mindset to get me fully committed into that ecosystem.
So you can't currently buy a game that's also on Game Pass?
It's coming very shortly, apparently, according to some reports. By the end of the year, according to some of what they're saying, it should be coming. Last year in January, Phil Spencer was in a podcast with Major Nelson, which is one of the biggest spokesperson over for Xbox. And he did say that he was working at getting something in the line of Stadia where you could buy a game on the digital store and play it in the cloud. And he actually openly mentioned Stadia as a platform that's what we're looking at during that interview. And they've been working towards that. Most likely they hit some delays, I believe, because of licensing issue. So they've been working on that, and it resurfaced not too long ago that by the end of the year they would be implementing that. I think there's some people who were beta testing some purchases that they had, so it's very likely coming soon, but there's no date yet.
Like, I think for Microsoft, it's one of those, like, they do have, obviously, they have the Microsoft Store on Windows, they have the Xbox Store, and obviously they have also Game Pass. But I mean, if you buy a, like, I got from Amazon, from Prime, I got one of the expansions for Minecraft Dungeons. That was a PC license, so it only works for the Microsoft Web Store, Windows Store. It's not actually something you can use on the Xbox. So, like, I think those that cross buy, I mean, no, I don't think that even Microsoft could get people to buy, like, you buy a cloud license for this game. They could, but I think they are moving in the direction of, like, we're going away from having two different stores and a separate subscription. We're going into, like, you have one store for every, like, you buy it either for cloud, console, and PC. Whatever you want to play it, you buy it. That's it. And I
That's
think
what they were
obviously
trying
merging
to
existing
do.
purchases is hard.
Well,
might
they
be a
were
while.
trying to do that even when they had Windows phones. When Windows Phone was
Yeah.
a thing, with the Windows 10 Mobile, they were trying to get to the point where they could just. That was why they had rebranded the Windows Store to Microsoft Store, because it was at that time, and they did that on the phone, they did that on PC, they did that on the Xbox, because they were trying to get to a point where they could just have everything in unison.
Yeah,
and I think that's why they shifted to the
and when they do.
UWPs.
And when they do, it's saying like you buy this, you've bought the game from Microsoft, so you can now play it on cloud. That's essentially what I want. Like what a lot of people really like about Stadia, and I think that's coming. But Microsoft needs to find first they need to consolidate all of that, and I think that might be I think it might partly be a license issue, but at the same time it's also like you have multiple databases of IDs you need to cross reference like this. License for someone has some PC for Minecraft Dungeons is for this edition. That edition doesn't exist on xCloud or Xbox. So how does
Bjorn,
it merge?
I would definitely if I bought a game, I would need it to be Play Anywhere. I need the option to have the Microsoft Store, the Xbox, and the cloud. That just one.
And I think that's coming, but I think they need to apart from the licensing issue, which they probably are working on quite hard. It's also a technological thing. They need to basically merge several different databases into one, and it's doable. It's not something that's hard from a tech standpoint of how to do it, but it's a time-consuming job if you want.
Yeah, I was going to agree. I was going to say it's not an overnight thing. It's not like, hey, go to sleep, wake up, and everything's done.
Yeah, like this ID is like the same thing as this ID. But this ID also exists, which is the same thing as this, but not the same thing as that. And then you get to a whole you're gonna have a lot of tables in between there, and it's gonna be a mess. So they are. They are gonna find a way to do it. I'm sure it's probably gonna be maybe if they say this year, then maybe they're close. But they have. That's one of the things they need to do to get the purchase thing down. Performance, as I can see, Caseball. Discussing in chat. That's something that they are obviously they've gone a long way already. When I tried it the first time 2 years ago, it was horrible. Now it's pretty good. I still can't get a good performance in the browser for some reason, but that's also I think it's just a matter of time. Hopefully they can snag some really great engineers from the Stadia team and bring in some of their knowledge on how they did it and get improvements done that way.
Somebody's gonna hire those.
Those people. A lot of people will get
Google. They just moved on in Google.
Yeah, but a lot of
they could leave at their own volition, of course.
Yeah, I think a lot of them will be like, oh yeah, I did it at Stadia. Now I'm doing something else at Google. It's fine. But if Xbox come and be like, you can do the same thing you did. Yeah, like hey, you want to come over to us and do the same thing you did over there, but they closed it down. People are going to jump.
It's not like we didn't see that PlayStation. It's not like Sony didn't do that.
Yeah, I think Google is probably counting on a lot of that happening for a lot of them. I think they are not. While they are very adamant on making sure everyone gets a new job within Google, I think they are also counting on we're moving these. Let's say it's 500 people. We're moving these 500 people to different places, but we count on maybe 300 of them actually staying.
The thing though is, as far as I have seen. Google immersive streams for game is still active though.
It is.
Stadia that's shutting down, so they can bring over some of that expertise within the immersive game department, which is growing and obviously still under Jack Buser's leadership.
Yeah, and obviously if they poach someone from the Stadia team, they are also the thing they did for Stadia is under NDA, so they can't just copy it. That would be corporate espionage, and they would be sued to hell. But but at the same time, if you build something once, you can probably build it a slightly different way and better next time.
Just got to modify a few things here and there, tweak a few settings.
Yeah, do it from memory. But I think they will. I think a lot of people will switch, and I don't think a lot of people will. A lot of these services will improve quite drastically over the next couple of years. But it's always been a long con. Cloud gaming has never been something that's going to be great next year for everyone, or it's always going to be one of those things that slowly grows until it's suddenly huge.
Who do you think is going to suck up most of the Stadia audience? Who do you think has the most potential to attract them?
Nvidia and
now.
Microsoft.
Yeah, I think Nvidia and Xbox. I think
Xbox.
Xbox
Yeah.
first and Nvidia as well, but Xbox is in. It's similar to enough to Stadia as a platform where you have the games. It's easy to access, and they've done tremendous work in improving the platform lately. So I believe they'll pick up a lot of people, especially since it's very affordable Game Pass, and you get all those games included. It is a very good deal.
Well, why I say xCloud myself is because the partnerships that they're working with at the moment, and plus they're bringing so many localization games from the East. So I feel like their audience is growing every day with the sort of genres of games that they're offering compared to other services.
Yeah, I think it's also one of those. Like, I think they are slightly catering to different gamers. Like, if you are the like to the gamers who prefer couch play, I think xCloud. I mean, sure, they do have the console experience, obviously. But I think for the people who don't want to buy, don't or can't buy a console right now, I think they are going to come out with a TV experience for cloud. They already have to very specific amount of TVs. But surely that is within
I think
within a year, within 6 months
on
to a year.
a TV box, aren't they? But they pushed
and
it
also
back.
Android TV.
They weren't quite happy with what they had done so far, so they sort of said, "No,
and
we're taking
I'm
a little
expecting
step back and
I'm expecting an Android TV app coming soon. Keyboard,
the
massive
Samsung
keyboard support as well, of
TVs.
course. I mean, it's
Samsung TVs already
so
have xCloud.
so they just port
included.
that into a separate Android app within 6 months, probably. I'm guessing Samsung bought exclusivity. It wouldn't surprise me. At least some sort of it. So I think so. Obviously, Xbox will cater mostly to the mobile gamers of Stadia and the couch players, whereas the PC crowd will obviously alleviate more towards GeForce and to some extent also Boostroid and the others.
I mean, they're the hardest sell anyway, aren't they? Because by definition, if you're a PC gamer, you've got a PC. So
yeah, but I mean, I think that the vast majority of PC gamers, they don't have I think the average GPU is on the in the GeForce 9 series, 900 series.
That's the key right there. Is that's what what a company like Nvidia, Boostroid, Amazon. That's what you go to. Is you go to the ones that are in the PC gamer category, but the ones that can't afford to to buy a $3,000 GPU.
Yeah.
I'm one of them
because families, parents, people that are building a computer for their kids. This is what you advertise to.
Yeah, I mean, my gaming PC is rocking a GTX 750 card. That's 8 years old. I can't play any new games on that.
Mine's already out of date. It's a 3070, so it's clearly.
Yeah, I mean, my come on. But I mean, my go-to if I have a few hours of gaming now, my go-to has never been the couch because I grew up with PC gaming, even though I don't have a good PC anymore. So if I want to play, I go to my out here and I play on my PC using streaming services. Stadia did make me sort of a couch gamer to some extent, but I mean, for example, whereas my kids, they are mobile and couch first, so they will be the Xbox subscription I have. Whenever they release the Android TV app, that they will use that more than I will, whereas I wouldn't be getting out here.
See, I think one of the issues is that the smaller, the embryonic services are going to get shouted out by the likes of xCloud. So, for example, on Rock Around the Clock earlier, I tested Black Nut, the source of many a joke, and Vet's straight in there with the chuckle. We can't help what they're called, mate. They're French.
Hey,
they don't know any better.
I was quiet for all of the tech stuff. Thankfully, you chimed in with something that I can humor me.
Putting their name to one side, for me so far, knowing what the core audience of Stadia was, which is essentially casual, slightly older, potentially family-based gamers who were, they love gaming. They did gaming when they were younger, but they don't have a lot of time these days. They certainly can't follow the press and see what the big games are. They just want to play some stuff, right? Black Nut actually is the one service for me so far outside of Luna, which we can't touch, that seems to tick all their boxes. You've got family accounts. You can have 6 family members in your account, and they can all have rated parental control, so you can stop what they're watching. You can play any game concurrently, which you could never do with Stadia's family membership. And it's 500 games, and they add quite a few games every month into that, which is essentially the equivalent of the pro games. So, I think that the problem is that the likes of xCloud or PlayStation Plus Premium or even GeForce now, because they are the most accessible to everybody, they're not, these little smaller guys, the Boosteroids and the Black Nuts, they're likely, and others, there's Bash coming up and, new incumbents all the time, and they're kind of not getting the airtime. And I do worry that they are the ones that are likely to suffer, because all of a sudden,
they are.
All of a sudden, cloud gaming's the topic du jour, and they're not getting mentioned.
If you take
You have to think
games,
about, like, you have multiple gaming platforms out there. Like the big ones are PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, and those already have a player base that is surrounding around 50 to 100 million players that buy the consoles, that have been playing on those platforms for a very long time. Now we have that new thing that's cloud gaming, which is the ideal scenario to start a brand new streaming platform. But we've seen with Stadia, it struggled to get like 1 million players on there.
Yeah.
Google, we see what happened. It's not easy getting into the gaming business because you already have those well-oiled machines that started back when gaming was small, and they've become expert at marketing, at very aggressive marketing. Microsoft struggled big time to get into the game. It cost them a fortune. What happened with the Xbox 360, it really gutted them for a while. They've spent a fortune on that, resolving that issue. So it's not a market that's easy to get into. And personally, I have trouble seeing into the future, even though I believed in Stadia for a very long time. I believed in Luna. Looking at it, I can't see a smaller streaming platform growing enough to encroach on the market that those three brands already have very secured.
Unless
and
you find
Nvidia
the
and
Niche
Nvidia and
niche is
Boosteroid
key.
on their own, they got a PC market, which is a whole other game that has a very large player base. So that's something else. You got your PC games, you bring into those services. That we might see more in the future. But as a platform, PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo, now we know that Nintendo hasn't touched much on the cloud other than bring the game to their platform. But those three already have a very solid grip on the market. And it's going to be hard to for any players out there, like Luna, for example, that's still on.
They've got a grip in the future, but if I came into cloud right now, and I actually typed in the games that I wanted, so say FIFA 23, Overwatch, and Spider-Man, for example, there's only one service at the moment that's got them types of games. And people could say, Boosteroid's going to die in the future, but if I was going in to try them games now, I'm never going to lose access to my games because they're tied to Steam, Origins, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but that's that case. That's that user case. And that user case, Stephen, I think, is perfectly catered for. GeForce Now, Boosteroid, Shadow, all of those services are there for those people. The people that I think that have just fallen out of what Stadia had created, I think they're the ones that are struggling because they're looking around and they're saying limited budgets. I don't want to get my head into all the latest games and the AAAs and stuff, but I do want it to be really simple, and I do want it to be really accessible, and I don't want to spend a huge amount. And I want I want to leave my kids there to play on that stuff.
Yeah, and then it's definitely what you said, Rock Black Nut. That library with
but I think a lot of these smaller services, though, like one of the hard things for them is, like, Luna doesn't have the problem because Luna is backed by Amazon.
Well, it's Amazon Prime.
Yeah, I mean,
they
can have. I mean, it's a price tag. If you look at like Black Knight, if you look at Boosteroid, if you look at basically all of them, Shadow specifically, they're more expensive, and they are in like, it's not like, sure, like $5 a month isn't that, compared to Stadia Pro, isn't that much. But if you but from an optic standpoint, and it always comes down to the optics in a lot of these cases. If you look at,
it's like $10 a month, which was
similar to 14 or something. But it's
they're $7.99 at the moment because it's a special offer.
Right.
Yeah, but it's a special offer. But
$7.99, $14.99. Well, even if it was at $14.99, that's still
same price as Black Nut.
Yeah,
right.
However,
but what I'm getting at is, though, if you compare $14.99 to even Stadia, whether it was when you were paying $10, look, the content outweighs that. I mean,
Yeah,
the,
but
the
the
content
thing is,
clearly is
if you
worth
have,
it.
because I've had this discussion with my wife quite recently regarding Game Pass. Like Game Pass is what, like 13 or 14 bucks a month.
It's about
Um,
£10 in the UK. So yeah, probably.
Yeah, so which means that because there is this optic thing where anything below 10, like if it's 9.99, it's pretty much you can pretty much you sub and you forget about it. Whereas anything above 10, like 9.99 is fine. 10 or 10.1, suddenly you're thinking, do I really need that? Do I use it as much as I should? And if you don't,
Well,
like,
they
you have a
actually
2 month.
posted on Twitter about that yesterday, exactly that, where I believe that Game Pass should do a promotion of just once they get Call of Duty on there, they should lower the price of Game Pass to $9.99, where it
Yeah, they will
doesn't make
destroy
sense
it with that.
not to have it, and it would just become an essential service. Because if you're talking about a subscription like that, having more people on the platform doesn't cost you much more. Yes, you need more data centers, you need to have more performance available for those, but you're not sending physical copies, you're not doing anything of that.
It's all about economies of scale.
Yeah,
you need to, like, and I mean, someone like Blacknut, they can't do economies of scale because they are that so small. So they need to have that price target, and they're not Amazon, so they don't have the Amazon money in the back. Meaning that they, like, I get why they have the price tag. It's a price tag, probably the price tag that means they can make a profit and survive as a company and grow, which they need to do. But at the same time, it is a price tag that I think will put a lot of stadiums off, especially the family gamers who, like, especially the ones who jumped on and off pro depending on what games we're on. I was kind of like, I just left my pro subscription be on all the time. But I know a lot of people just jumped in and out when it suited them, and to get the games, and then just bought a few games here and there. And for that crowd, 15 a month is slightly too high, I think. At least for like, they will jump in and out every now and then. I mean, if Spider-Man, like when Spider-Man 2 drops on Boostroid, I think Boostroid will see a lot of people signing up for a month or two, and then when the game is done, they will unsubscribe, and they, like, the money's gone for them. Whereas, like, if the price tag was $9.99, they would probably just keep it around.
For Game Pass,
So
with the
then-
current price of $14.99, having, like, what they have, like, approximately, supposedly is around 35-40 million subscribers.
Yeah.
Roughly around
that
those
is for
numbers.
console and
Yeah.
PC.
So you got 35-40 million subscribers at $14.99. Then you drop it to $9.99, and the number will increase.
Yeah, double,
And you'll
probably.
reach 80,
What
90,
happens if you
120
think they'll
million
all stay there, though?
subscribers.
How many
The
of those
pool,
those additional subscribers will leave once the price goes
that's what
back?
I'm saying. If it's at $4.99, people will get it, and then during the summer they're busy, they're going to drop their subscription, maybe register back at during fall. If you put it at $9.99, it becomes in the price range of an essential service where you don't even think about it. It's like your landline at home back then when people
Yes.
had a landline.
Yes.
It's
What's a
very
landline?
cheap, and you're not even thinking about that subscription because it is too cheap, and
paper
everyone
cup.
has it basically.
Yeah, and I mean,
So-
lowering the price by like like a third for them would probably double their user base, which means they would make more money. But they do
more
need
money
to go.
available to bring
Yeah,
more
but they
games
do
into
need to
subscription.
to get to that economy of, like, to that scale first with cloud. And I think it's one of those, because I think they're quite close to capping the market that they can on Game Pass PC and Game Pass for console. And I think but cloud is still too early to push on its own. So when cloud becomes as big as it is, I think they will do, as you say, lower the price down to get over that, as you can grab everyone who's not currently on Game Pass PC or Game Pass console. Just grab, like, if you don't have any of those, a PC or a console, we have Game Pass Cloud. Get all of it for $9.99. If you then want a local copy of something, I mean, you get a PC, get an Xbox, we'll have you sorted. I think they're going down that route, and that when they do, I think a lot of the competition will struggle, especially on the smaller side. And I mean, competition is good. I want them to have competition. But I fear for a lot, like, these smaller companies, they need to find their niche, and then they need to find a price that works for that niche. I think Shadow's price tag, it's very high, but at the same time, they are. I've seen them starting to focus more and more on, like, the productivity side. Like, you can, instead of paying for I think didn't Ray say this the other day that he has his company paying for Shadow because he uses it for work, and then he can also use it for gaming. And that sort of thing, like that's a great niche for them because that means they can get users in that they otherwise wouldn't.
It's a Trojan horse, though, isn't it? Because truthfully, before most people got to Stadia, they probably had a console. That may have been a Nintendo one, and they really are missing a trick in my book. Or it would have been Xbox or a PlayStation. So
last gen.
Right. So most of them were just folded back to what they've already got or what they already knew beforehand. And of course, in the time since Stadia launched, both of those services have really improved upon their cloud offering. So I am struggling to see where the likes of Black Nut and Boosteroid and Luna can tear a slice into where Xbox or xCloud and PlayStation are going to ultimately end up. I mean, it seems to be almost like it's going back to where it was with the two big consoles and PCs, but out into cloud.
I don't count PlayStation right now because they're not doing enough.
It might be coming very soon. They got some stuff in the works.
They've got like 1,000 games on there.
But for PC, you're still locking out the vast majority of computer users. If you're using it, that you're locked out iOS users, you're not available to Android users, you're not available to Chromebook users, you're not available to Mac users, you're literally only available to somebody that has a Windows computer. It's no different than Amazon Luna being only available to US subscribers currently. We all know, and then if you sign up for it, their UI is a complete shit show. I mean, it's a jumbled mess that they haven't updated in a decade. So if I was going to try it out, I don't want no
PlayStation.
Oh, PlayStation.
PlayStation's UI is.
They changed it. They changed it with the PS5.
Where's my search bar
Did
on
they?
the PC app?
It's there with PS.
No, but
You
they
can
don't
search
on the
bar.
PC. On the PC.
They don't have a search bar on the PC app. No, they don't know what a search bar is. Are you talking about the remote play app?
Streaming. The
cloud,
PlayStation
the cloud
Now.
PlayStation Plus streaming app. PlayStation Now, the changing.
Yeah, I know.
They basically got rid of PlayStation Now by shoving it into PlayStation Plus. And yes, I know that they are doing stuff behind the scenes. There's a lot of things that they're doing, but you're still. When I saw what the rebrand of PlayStation Plus, it wasn't good enough for me because you were still leaving out a ton of people that would love to try it, whether it's mobile users or it's Mac users or Chromebook users. And that's my issue because I can use any of those devices and use xCloud. I can use any of those.
You can only use xCloud if you've got Game Pass Ultimate, though. You can't play it on Game Pass.
Right, but what I'm saying is you have to have PlayStation Plus Premium. You have to have the highest tier to use their cloud service.
Yeah, but you have to have Game Pass Ultimate for xCloud.
Right, but I can still use Game Pass Ultimate on an Android phone or iOS or Chromebook or Windows or or Mac. Whereas I can't do that with PlayStation.
Yeah, I think it feels like Sony is trying, as you said before, like they feel they can't start switching over and like ramping it up. They kind of need to do they're
following
basically
the
putting all
path
of their
that Nintendo does.
Yeah, but I feel Sony more than anyone is putting all their eggs in the basket of like we're trying we'll in the background make all of these things like ready and prepared, and then one day we just make that switch. Now we're like cloud first from all of nowhere, like from nowhere, and like we're releasing on iOS, on Android, we're releasing on the browser, we're releasing like all of doing this massive change, and like if that fails, they are screwed.
We did say that we would have guests joining us, and they don't get more epic than this young man. It's young Ant, the Cowboy, is in the house, ladies and gentlemen.
There you go.
You can't keep him away from a good debate.
Are you sure are we sure that's the real Cowboy? Because I don't see a hat on.
Yeah,
Has he got a hat?
he doesn't have
Can the real Cowboy please stand up?
I tried to block my video, but it still came up anyway. But
that was
whatever.
Sorry, dude.
Should have blocked.
Oh, okay.
Just in a floating head.
Yeah.
How are
guys,
you, my friend?
I'm doing good. I'm just on the way home, and I thank you for sending me the link earlier. And I'm used to kind of like driving and talking to some people, so I've been doing that with Obi Rose. So I hope you don't mind that I can talk. I can still talk, and just can't look at the screen. But
Certainly
it's
can.
a great conversation, and I just want to be a part of it. So whatever questions I could jump in on, just ask
Yeah,
away.
so let's fire the original question at you then, my friend, that you've joined us. So the original premise of the question was, now that Stadia is essentially dead in the water, and we've
Right.
got several 100,000 potential users that are all looking for a new home, who do you think that we're likely to see some of the smaller companies benefit, or do you think they're all going to go to the big names like xCloud or PlayStation or GeForce Now? Do you think it's likely that we could see a mass movement in cloud gaming full stop, or is it just going to go to those big guys? That actually wasn't the
I
original
do think
question,
the
but
big
I
guys.
like it.
I do think the big guys are gonna grab a lot of people. The reason being is I feel right, and you said this. You said a lot of people have consoles already.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like if Google can't do it, then who can? So for me, it does make me back up on cloud a little bit, and it's sad because I was, you all know how much I was into cloud, right? But now I feel like, and my recommendation is go to xCloud, right? You guys already explained why it's a good thing to go to them as opposed to all the other ones as well, and a good reason to go to the other ones. But you have more of a stake of, hey, this company's been around, and they're only trying to make it complementary, right? Like, they're not saying we're going to take over. They're not saying this is your only way to play. They're not saying you could buy your games. I know you guys talked about what Xbox might do, but as of right now, you're almost guaranteed that they're going to keep their things up because it's just complementary to what they've been doing for 20, 30 plus years. So I feel like Luna or Black Nut or GFN, I think, is in a good spot because you're just kind of playing. You're using their service to play games that you already purchased somewhere else. So I don't see why this would affect them that much, right?
Yeah,
But
in a way, the GFN was also complementary to their GPU business. You could argue.
yeah, I just think that I think the smaller guys are kind of going to get pushed out because let's be honest. Stadia was the only ones that was coming in saying we're going to do something different. We're going to use our cloud because we got all these things to add to our service, right? Features, right? You could do crowd plays, crowd choice, stream connect, all those things. Everybody else is just really bringing video games for you so you could play them in other places, and that is 1,000,000,000% correct. I love PlayStation, right? But they're not doing anything none of the others are doing. They're actually stepping you back. Like he said, all the reasons, like with their cloud service, you can't even play on mobile. It's just stepping you back. So you can't even play in a browser. So yeah, personally, I feel, some of the other companies, they're maybe like Luna, right? Maybe I'm not saying it's gonna die, but maybe it's just gonna stay small. Maybe that's why maybe they won't expand, because it's kind of like, well, if we expand and we can't capitalize by expanding, then we might mess ourselves up. Like if we jump into other countries and people are jumping on PlayStation and Xbox, then we won't have that many people to grab, and then we might spend too much money expanding. So
I think for Luna, it's one of those, like, I think Luna is obviously part of the Amazon gaming leg, which, I mean, Prime Gaming is one of, I mean, the umbrella for that in a way. Like you have Luna, obviously, I also have, Twitch is also part of that leg, and then they also have their internal studios. And I think like, if you look at what Amazon is doing with Twitch, they seem to be kind of lost. Like they seem to be like not really sure where to go with what to do with it, with where they are. And I feel a bit like that affects where they want to go with Luna, and that affects what they want to do with the first party studios. Like if, let's say, New World had been a massive hit, not just something that showed like people tried for a month and then dropped out of. If it had been a massive success from day one and kept being that, I think we would have seen it coming to Luna, and then Luna would have been expanded across the world. And I think now they're kind of waiting, like, can we make another, like, let's do another try with the first party, see if that can be a hit and bring in people, and then expand to other countries with that. And then, like, I think they're kind of like, they're not, I think they had a strategy, that strategy kind of failed, and now they are trying to reorganize and come up with a plan.
Well, even Sony had a plan in the past. They had Sony Bravia TVs, they had the Xperia phones, and they had the PlayStation Vita, and that all had PlayStation Now on it, and that all sort of failed and got pushed in the background. So if Sony couldn't deliver
Yeah, I think
on their own
Sony
stuff,
were. I think Sony were on the right track.
back
They were too
then,
early.
that was because of the leadership, though. Jack
Yes,
Tretton is the
I
one
agree.
who put in place PlayStation Now. He had great plans for it. They switched over leadership to Sean Layden when Jack Tretton shut down.
No vision.
And Sean Layden didn't want anything else than the console, the PS4. Everything else was getting slashed. He stopped production on the PlayStation Vita. He discontinued the PlayStation Vita. And PlayStation Now was slated to come out a few months after he took office. He shut down all R&D for PlayStation Now.
Yeah.
He reduced the investment for the servers to have it as cheap as possible. And he increased the price of the service before it launched. He did everything he could to sabotage PlayStation Now.
And do you know what, Seb? What's a real shame is this is how short vision they are. So they've been ploughing most of their R&D recently into the new headset, the new Sony Vr 2, which looks stunning. But it's still connected to a PlayStation by an umbilical cord. Imagine if that. From what I've seen, certainly from the reviews, the early reviews that I've seen, the live reviews.
Yeah.
Imagine if they connected that to cloud, so that you didn't have to have it connected to a PlayStation, but you could still get the full 4K effect, and you could wander around in a room. But they've completely.
Yeah, I mean, just like the Meta doing the Quest, like doing the Quest. I think that was the Oculus Quest and the Quest 2 by running the games locally on the machine and being wireless. They've opened up. I mean, the price tag did help, but I think that they dominate the VR market mainly because it's like it is more expensive than a PSVR, and it is better. But I mean, and sure, it's slightly better. But I think just the wireless capability makes it so much more attractive. I think Sony in general, they are always really early on with technology. They have great ideas, but they're too soon, and then it doesn't get the traction they expect because they are way too soon, and then they scrap it. And then a few years later, everyone else
Sony,
has doing it work fine.
The thing about Sony, though, is when they acquired Haven Studios, they went to see what they were doing, and we know Jade Raymond. She spent a while at Google. She was the head of SG&E. They kept on working on a cloud native project. Now, when Sony started partnership, before they offered to acquire them, they went to visit them, check what project they wanted to work on, and when they saw what they were working on, they were like, "Whoa, wait a moment, we need that." And they got the people from Haven to go around, collaborate with some other studios, and try to put some input because they want what they're working on to reflect on every single other studios, and that's why Sony went and bought Haven.
Right.
Because I think they also got a lot of that from buying Bungie, I think, as well, because like the way Bungie described moving the development when COVID hit over to Stadia was, I think Sony really took a lot of learnings from that.
Cloud streaming and cloud computing for the gaming in the future for Sony is getting a lot of traction. They got a lot of stuff in the works. It's just at the moment it's too early to see it because what happened with Sean Layden back then, he really put some sticks in the wheels, sabotage a whole bunch of stuff. So they're catching up. We already know the app. For most people, for my part, it's running perfectly. When you get a game running, the UI still has problems, but the games look amazing. There's local upscaling, so you can play on PlayStation Now in 4K. So you get a 1080p stream, but the upscaling is impeccable. It looks really great.
Yeah.
So Sony definitely has something in the books for cloud that's coming relatively soon. And you were mentioning Luna before. As far as I know, I haven't heard anything about Luna doing any cloud exclusive features that we're working on. It might be, but I haven't heard anything from them on this. All I heard is they're bringing PC version of the games, optimizing it for Luna, and that's what they're delivering. As for PlayStation and Xbox, both of them are working on cloud native games with cloud exclusive features that will not be possible on the consoles. Xbox already has Flight Simulator out there and Sea of Thieves that are using the cloud to improve the games. So we're seeing a lot of that from those platforms, while no other platform seems to be doing that. So only PlayStation and Xbox right now are doing cloud native things.
Can we just say though, cloud is just not that popular. So I think these companies, they're seeing that Google went full force for the cloud, right? And we know it wasn't popular, but you know, people like us, we embraced it, right? But there's so a large majority of gamers that they don't want to be bothered. You start mentioning cloud gaming, they're like, here we go. So I think Google's setback is probably going to make a lot of different companies say, okay, we could just go slow. Like, what is the rush for Amazon to expand now, right? If Google failed, it's kind of like it's just not that popular. And why it brings many advantages, right? We go on and on, no downloads, no installs, no space, right? But the popularity isn't there to.
Yeah,
but
but
popularity.
Sony and
money.
Xbox are not slowing down.
no, they're not.
They're picking
Yeah,
up.
but-
Yeah,
Yeah, but hold up.
Yeah, but you're missing this. There's a land grab to be had, my friend. It doesn't even matter if we're not all playing cloud. They know we will. So it's a bit like the Wild West, you know, when they all went looking for gold. You've got to get in there and get your claim in.
And that's why when people said Stadia is going to die, I said that's the silliest thing. Why would Google want to lose out on all this money? It's so much money to be had with cloud gaming for the future, right? But guess what? They shut down. But they shut down. So here's what I think is there's no like, I think the rush is meaning there's no rush for you to be a sole cloud provider like Stadia was. I don't think that I don't think it's a rush for somebody said before, they said they think is FCAT. He said, I think at some point xCloud is going to be separate from Game Pass, where it's just going to be its own thing. I don't think so. I think it's going to be if it's a comp deal, it's less threatening. Yeah, it's less threatening, right? It's less, and even to separate your gamers, right? If I'm a gamer, Xbox is doing it great. And PlayStation is doing that now too. You turn on your Xbox, you see you could download it or you could stream it. You're like, oh wait, what's that? Oh, stream just mean I could play it without downloading. It's non-threatening. It's not separating. It's not making two different. Oh, I'm a cloud gamer and you're not a cloud gamer. It's just one thing. So,
but and not only that, you've also got your especially with Xbox, and we're seeing Sony do this now. Is you've got technically there's two of their systems with Game Pass you could separate. You could clearly separate PC Game Pass from just the regular. But as I said before, with the merging things, they're focusing their games, especially anything that they put on their platforms now, across everything. So they want it on xCloud, they want it on Xbox and PC. So they want all of it covered. And you're seeing Sony's notice that. That's why they're bringing their big titles over to PC now. Because they're going to try to take some of that pie from Xbox that Microsoft's had.
Yeah, that kind of like brings up the question for me that what obviously Sony has several paths they can take, but as we said before, Sony is currently only you're limited to your console or Windows streaming. That's it, and they don't obviously they have the partnership with Azure, but how are they? They have several paths forward. Part of that, do you guys see a future where Sony will do you think they will keep maybe do a instant game streaming from Google, they doing that as a first party solution? Do you think they will be keeping with Azure, doing keeping building on the thing they have, or do you think maybe they will try to pivot more towards content creation and accessories creation to be multi-platform?
I want you to hold that thought, and we're going to hold that thought until next week because we've hit the 2 hours, and I know if you guys need to bail. So what I'm going to say is, I think this was a brilliant first show for the new launch of the Rokk Players, guys. Thank you so much for joining, and thank you for coming through the middle of your drive. Is it raining there, by the way?
No, it's nice and sunny today. It's actually 76 degrees today.
Oh wow, it looks gorgeous.
Hey Anthony, you want to trade? It's 55 out here.
No, it was 55. It was 55 yesterday here.
19. But then again, that's Celsius. So
no, 19. Yeah. Guys, thank you so much, and thank you for joining, my friend. I know it was right at the end, but I really appreciate that. I know you're on your way home. Thank you, dude. Dr. Spaceman said, "What an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. I knew you could bring some awesome insights to the conversation. You certainly didn't let me down on that front. Thank you so much. Vet, I wish I hadn't bothered. Lee, how are you? Oh no, but it's always an absolute pleasure, my friend. I've been looking forward to getting you back into a show for so long. Well,
was a
you
blast.
did
I
disappoint.
mean, some of the tech talk. I swear to God, that's the quietest I've ever been on a show. There's how you get me quiet. I can start talking
No,
tech.
it's brilliant. Lee, so good to get you back on, my
You're
friend.
up. Thank you for having me.
No, must do it again for sure. Really
Yeah,
enjoyed it.
absolutely.
I'm so my love to Dan. I'm so looking forward
Will
to
do.
seeing the new site that's expanding out to cover all the cloud. If only because at least gives me something to talk about every day. So I've run out quick here. Stephen and Bjorn, love you too. Thank you so much, guys. Don't come back next week. I've got brilliant new friends now.
No, I have the link saved now. You'll never get rid of it.
Yeah, chat, you are awesome. We had some massive amount of folks joining us for our first show. It's super. Do not forget, if you want the chance to win 60 days of GeForce Now Priority membership and $40 credit for Steam and a code for Deathloop, sub me, most importantly. But if you've already subbed me, sub all these guys and get a comment down in the description of the video so I know that you've done that, and then I will enter you into the draw. The draw's tomorrow on Rock Around the Clock at 5 p.m. UK, 9 a.m. Eastern, and 9 a.m. Western and 12 p.m. Eastern, or something like that. You can check it all out, and you could be in for a chance to win 3 prizes. So make sure you do that. Right, fellas. What a great game. I really enjoyed that. We played that nicely. Well done. Next week, same again. Maybe some new guests. Maybe some of these as well. Who knows? You'll never know until next week. Have a fantastic weekend. Guys, have a fantastic weekend. I would normally say, what are you doing? But everybody knows who you are. And I've already put links down in the description. You can find them on Twitter and they can do their thing. See you later, fellas. Have a great one. I'm going to...
Good night, guys.
Most importantly, before we go...
We're just kidding. We're not done.
No. It's almost done. We're
World.
Big thank you
Sorry.
to Al Davis Music, who did the theme tune for the show. You're about to see the full version of the theme tune. You can hang around if you want, or you can leave, but it's worth watching. It's absolutely superb. See you guys later. Take care, everybody.